Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I am Chatty. This is my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter. I'm going to be chatting away madly about middle grade recommendations for your zodiac sign. So I was inspired to do this video because one of the prompts for the Magical Readathon is to read a book that has been recommended for your zodiac sign. So whilst I was trawling through lots of different recommendation videos, I became very much aware that there were no middle grade options out there. So you know me, you know I love middle grade. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to make my own one. I am not an astrologer, but I am a middle grade reader. So we're going to make this work. You may be able to hear, if you're listening very carefully, the sound of our guinea pigs gnawing away at their Easter present. So if you're wondering what that noise is, we don't have giant rats or mice, it's our guinea pigs. So there you go. On my channel for my long videos, I only do one continuous take, so it is one shot and there is no editing. So cheers everyone. Clink, 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 clink. So I am going to be recommending you 2 middle grade books per zodiac sign. And I think I've got a wide variety of different middle grade in here. There is a lot of fantasy because that is my favourite genre. But I have tried to make sure there is one fantasy and one not other and one mainly contemporary within each one. I have just got one star sign which does not have any fantasy recommendations with it, but genuinely I think I've got a good mixture and variety for you all, so do enjoy. So I'm going to be controversial and I'm going to start off with Pisces because everyone starts with Aries and ends with Pisces, and so I think Pisces, your time has come. You get to be first this time. I'm going to go backwards because why not? So my book recommendations for Pisces are based on these ideas of what Pisces may enjoy. So I think the strong factor with Pisces, from what I understand, is they are very driven by I believe and the concept of peace and love. They want to share that harmony and that joy with the world. So they are very compassionate, they are very imaginative, they are understanding people who are very selfless. But they could also be escapists, easily persuaded, oversensitive and pessimistic. So the 2 books I'm going to recommend to Pisces are The Secret Sunshine Project by Benjamin Dean, which is a contemporary, and also Rumblestar by Abby Elphinston, which is a fantasy. So with The Secret Sunshine Project, why I think this would be good for Pisces is because we have our protagonist, B, whose older sister Riley and her family all went to Pride Parade last summer. They've got a very different situation for the family this time, and they're not going to be able to go to Pride. They're in a completely different place. It's been a big upheaval for them all, and B can tell that Riley is really hurting about missing Pride. So B wants to make her sister feel better. So she has compassion, she has understanding, she has a giant imagination that is going to bring Pride to this very small village where they are currently staying. So I think this feel of joy and peace and love will very much please all the Pisces out there. Plus rainbow. We do love rainbow sprayed edges. The second book is Rumblestar. So with Rumblestar, our protagonist Casper Tock could easily fall down that hole of being a pessimist, of being easily persuaded. He just kind of wants to be left alone. He's not a particularly strong character when we start the book. He's bullied a lot and he just tries to stay out of everyone's way. However, he goes through a portal to another world where he suddenly finds a lot of strength. So he comes through because what Casper Tock is very understanding, and he is very compassionate and he wants to help people. And so him and, it's going to come to me, Utterly Thankless, who is a very different sort of character, set out on this journey in Rumblestar to save this magical kingdom. So they are both selfless, they are both courageous, they are both compassionate and have big imaginations. And this whole world is so imaginative. So I think this will very much appeal to those Pisces. So the next star sign I will be talking about is Aquarius. And for Aquarius, they are mainly sort of driven by I know, and they are open and forward thinking. Aquariuses tend to be intelligent, independent, original, and inventive, but they can also be unpredictable, extremists, chaotic, and unreasonable. So the two books that I'm recommending for the Aquariuses are The Insiders by Mark Oshiro, which is a magical realism. It's a contemporary with a bit of a portal fantasy, and Cogheart by Peter Bunzai, which is historical steampunk, slight sci-fi mystery adventure. There we go. So with The Insiders, our characters in this are very unique. They are very original, and they are very open about who they are, or they are learning to be open about who they are, and they try and think about their school life differently and different ways they can do to solve problems. And there is a strong theme of friendship in here and support. So they fight against bullying, against other difficulties in here, and try and allow each other to be the best that they can be. And there are moments that could be quite chaotic in here. There are moments where doors are very unpredictable, and there are other people in here who are a little bit extreme in their opinions and are unreasonable. So we have a little bit of a flip of both the high qualities by the protagonists and some of the kind of more negative qualities in here. So hopefully it will bring out all of those open-minded, forward-thinking and original traits for the Aquariuses. And then we have Cogheart. So this is very unique. We have got a lot of mechanical, so we've got a mixture of sort of like humans and clockwork, people, animals, contraptions. It's a bit of a mixture, and one of our characters is very highly unique in this. I will let you read it for you to see what I mean. There is a lot of original ideas, there's a lot of invention here. The plan is that the protagonists and the people with them are forward thinking, but some people are too forward thinking to the point that they are they're very extreme in the endeavours. So again, a little bit of balance needed for this one, but it's definitely original. It's a very big adventure. We go through London, we have air travel, and we have a little bit of like a Penny Dreadful sort of vibe, but we have characters in here that are trying to do the best that they can do with the situation and do form a friendship. And you have a mechanical fox. I mean, what more do you want than that? Needed some tea. So unfortunately, for the Capricorn, it just so happened that both my recommendations for this sign, I don't actually have a physical copy of the books with me. One, because I borrowed it from my mum and I've given it back to her. And the other one is mine that I've lent to my mum. So I don't have either one of the books, so I have nothing to hold up, which makes me feel sad. So sorry about that, Capricorns, but they are, I'm hoping you will enjoy the recommendations. So Capricorn, I feel is, well, not I feel, from what I've heard and I understand, Capricorn is driven by I use, and they set goals and like to commit to excellence. So they are ambitious, disciplined, patient, and trustworthy. But they can also be cynical, stubborn, self-centered, and detached. So for the Capricorns, what I recommend is Map of Leaves by Yarrow Townsend and A Rover Story by Jasmine Varga. So Map of Leaves by Yarrow Townsend is, it's an adventure. It's one of those stories that doesn't necessarily have a set time. It could be sort of a sort of imagined fantasy-ish world, but it's very similar to our world. There are horses and barges that are used. There's not specifically any kind of modern technology as such, so it could be kind of more historical based with a bit of magical realism. It's not necessarily said. But there is a girl who can speak to plants, speak to her, and she can commune with them and talk with them. And so there's kind of like a herbal lore that she's kind of inherited, and she's sort of living by herself. But there is a sickness that goes across the world. So she has definitely been trying to be ambitious and trying to keep going despite her being an orphan, her mum having died, and she's kind of living by herself. So she's using her own wits, and her main goal is to just kind of protect the plants and to keep going. But she is quite detached, she is quite cynical, she doesn't really like people, she just enjoys plants, and she doesn't really trust people. And she is quite stubborn with her views. But she has a goal. Once she realizes there's this sickness and she has this map to go and try and stop the sickness, she sets off and she is determined to carry on through that journey. She meets some other characters and has to learn how to kind of get on and be with other people and work as a team. And along that way, she learns to trust. People learn to trust her, and she is seen to be trustworthy. There is a lot of patience needed for the endeavours that she does and kind of the work she does with plants. And these characters are all, you know, very driven to accomplish their goal. So I feel that would very much work for a Capricorn. Now, a Rover story by Jasmine Varga has a very similar thing. So this is a sci-fi. We have got an AI sort of protagonist here, and we have got a planned mission to Mars that is explored. This is also a novel in, is it a novel in? Yeah, it's a novel in verse as well. So it's kind of done, the way the text is layered is a kind of like adds a different, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. It's a novel in verse, okay? Take and do with that what you will. But the reason I feel this would really work for a Capricorn, because, you know, space travel, astronauts and the team behind them to send them up into space have to be very disciplined. They are very ambitious. To try and break through that barrier between Earth and into space, you need all of those things. And you also need to be patient. This book spans several years from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. A lot kind of happens through in that. So I feel that it's a very good kind of book for Capricorns with the ambition and things. And you get to see this journey and how it plays out. And there's also this kind of really nice sort of exchange of letters between the daughter of one of the scientists working on the program in sort of like the tech department. Sort of the engineering kind of side of things, and the robot themselves. So it's a really kind of sweet story that explores the concept of going to Mars, and I always love an AI considering what it's like to be human as well. But yes, definitely a lot of ambition in that book too. Okay, we are moving on to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is the one where I don't have a fantasy recommendation or kind of like a sci-fi recommendation. So it's two contemporaries for this one, but they are both very, very different. So with the Sagittariuses, their focus is I aim, and they have a quest for knowledge. Sagittariuses are friendly, adventurous, optimistic, and honest. And they can also be reckless, irresponsible, tactless, and overconfident. So the two books I have for this one are See You in the Cosmos by Jack Cheng and The Deepest Breath by Meg Graham. Oh, Grehan. I always want to call her Graham. Sorry, Meg. It's Meg Grehan. So with See You in the Cosmos, we have Alex, who wants to send his iPod into space for extraterrestrial life to at some point find and then learn about sounds on Earth. He's really interested in rockets. He likes this rocket launch program where people go to launch their rockets, and he wants to launch his rockets into space. So he sets off on a journey to go and do just this. So he's very adventurous because he plans this whole journey himself, and off he goes out into the big wide world. He's only 11, and he goes without thinking through adult supervision or anything kind of beyond just getting to this place to launch his rocket. So you kind of find out a little bit more about him as the story goes on and his certain family setup. But he's very optimistic, he's very open, and he really wants to know a lot of things. He has constant questions for everyone he meets, and he's so just open and friendly to everyone. It absolutely fits the Sagittarius vibe. And in turn, everyone who he meets just kind of takes him into their heart and wants to support and help him, because how could you not? It would be like kicking a puppy. But also, you know, because of his adventurous and his his naivety, he comes across as reckless and irresponsible as well. And he doesn't worry too much about social conventions, and he will just say things. So there is a certain amount of tactlessness in here too, but very much kind of a Sagittarius vibe all round, I feel. And with the deepest breath, what really made me kind of pick this book up for the Sagittarius is our protagonist in here, whose name I've totally forgotten, Stevie. Stevie wants to know things because she's worried that if she doesn't know things, there might be a time in her life that she needs that information, and she feels worried if she doesn't know it. One of the things that Stevie really loves is about marine life. She's really interested in knowing all there is to know about oceans. So that quest for knowledge and that desire to know things, I feel very much will appeal to the Sagittariuses. Was there anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, it was mainly kind of very much the knowledge quest from this one. And as well as the ocean, Stevie also starts to recognize that she has a feeling for her friend who is a girl that is more than just friendship, and she wants to know what that means, and she wants to know, is it okay? So finding out a little bit more about what it means to be a lesbian. She facilitates and uses her library a lot. So there's a lot of warm, heartfelt, lovely messages in here, and it's a very beautiful story. And this is also written in verse as well. I do enjoy a novel in verse. Okay, we are now moving on to, so I'm getting confused by my piles. The ones I've done go on the floor, the ones I haven't are next to me here. Okay, we are on to Scorpio now. And for Scorpio, they are driven by I desire. They like to investigate the mysteries of life. So slightly different from the Sagittarius, but they're into kind of like sort of more of the unknown, and not necessarily that you will know, but very much keen to kind of explore life's mysteries. They are fierce, they are loyal, they are resourceful and perceptive, but they can also be suspicious, obsessive, possessive, and vengeful. So I have two very different ones for this. I have The Haunting of Avaline Jones by Phil Hicks, which is our only horror spooky on this list. And I also have a mystery, a historical fiction mystery, which is The Adventures of Lizzie and Belle. And you could have either Drama and Danger or Portraits and Poisons for this one. Either one would work, I feel, for the Scorpios. So with The Haunting of Avaline Jones, the reason I've gone for this one is, again, life's mysteries. There's nothing more mysterious than ghosts and sort of a new spooky town with lots of secrets and stories and things to investigate that way. Also, the ghost in here, there is some vengeance with the story of the ghost. This ghost is out for revenge and to kind of make things better from what they felt they lost. So I feel that definitely kind of fits in with the Scorpio vibe. But what we have in here is our protagonist, Avaline. She is very resourceful and she is very perceptive. So I think that fits in really well as well. And, you know, she's pretty committed to finding this out. And there's a nice friendship in here and there's nice family moments in here as well. And this was just a really delightful, really well written, atmospheric book. So now we have another mystery, again, the mysteries of life. Of course, we want to investigate things. So here we have two very different characters. We have Lizzie Sancho and Dido Belle. They are both very resourceful. They are both very loyal to each other and their families. And they both use their own different skills to solve the mysteries in here. And they also are very suspicious as well because they need to be to solve these mysteries. And they are quite obsessive over the mysteries. They will not be deterred. They will keep going on these cases. They could be vengeful. They've been given enough, reason to be, considering the way that they are treated, because both these characters are black and living in the 1700s. So there is you know, threats to their lives with what's it called when people make you go on a ship? Press ganged, I suppose. Yes. Is it press ganged? I think it is. Kidnap. Basically, they could face kidnap and press ganging, basically. So they could be vengeful, but they're not. They are very much here for the truth and for solving the mystery and for making sure justice is done. So I feel that would very much fit the Scorpio characteristics, and they are both very fierce in their own separate ways and are determined to see the end of the case. And finally, for the first half of this video, we have Libra. So for Libras, unsurprisingly, the driving force of Libra is eye balance, because they're the scales, but they are very interested in sort of creating this kind of beauty and social harmony and fairness, and they are very much about the aesthetic and the visual. So for Libras who are cooperative, social, impartial and courteous, but also have the capabilities to be indulgent, wavering, vain and inconsistent, I have got two very different books. I have our first classic here, The Secret Garden by Frances Hodges Burnett. Just checking that is correct. Yes, it is. And The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. So two very different titles here. So The Secret Garden is a classic. And in The Secret Garden, we have our protagonist, Mary, who, at the start of the story, she's been very heavily indulged in certain aspects. She's been given what she's wanted. She's had lots of servants. She's not had a lot of emotional support in her life, but she's definitely been spoilt on the materialistic side of things. And she is also very vain. But she learns to be courteous. She learns to kind of bring people together in kind of more of a harmony. We also have the aesthetic beauty of The Secret Garden. So we have the beauty of nature, we have the beauty of gardening, and the beauty of cultivating and letting things grow. But Mary does also seek this balance between not only a kind of harmonious between, for example, her uncle, her cousin, and sort of, you know, not letting things be shut up, but allowing things to be opened up again, like the garden. But also there is sort of a balance between friendship and class. She does become friends with Dickon, who is of a lower class, but also is friends with her cousin Colin, who is of a higher class. And the three of them together, she kind of bridges the gap between classes. So I feel this very much works in terms of the balance for a Libra. And then a very, very different story is The Wizards of Once. This is fantasy. This is zany. This involves a talking spoon and very tiny, hairy, fairy, what are they called? What is Squeeze Juice? He's not a fairy, but he is a something, and I can't recall what he is. No, it's completely lost. Anyway, some sort of like small being that's cute and squeaky. Anyway, zaniness aside, we have two very different sides, which is why I thought this would appeal to a Libra. We have on one side, we have the wizards. This is Zar. And the wizards do not get on with the warriors. This is Wish. Now, the thing about Wish and about Zar is that maybe they don't necessarily fit the molds of their particular sides, as it were. Wish has some secret magic, and Zar has a big sense of adventure, and they cross paths, and then things happen. So this is a world of two very different sides. And ideally, what would be lovely is if they could come together and there could be some sort of peace and harmony between the warriors and between the wizards and these two different worlds of magic and of iron. So I feel in that respect, it would very much appeal to Libras. Yeah, so it was just the kind of the two different sides of things that I felt the kind of amalgamation of them would work in that respect. So there we go. I'm just going to swap my books over now and have a gulp of more tea.